Here she is yesterday at a rally at Columbus, Ohio, talking about Senator Biden.
I've never met him before, but I've been hearing about his Senate speeches since I was in, like, second grade.
And here's Katie Couric with that gotcha journalism of hers.
You said you've been listening to Joe Biden's speeches since you were in second grade, something like that?
Since, like, 72, yeah.
When you have a 72-year-old running mate, is that a kind of a risky thing to say? It's insinuating that Joe Biden's been around a while?
Oh, no, it's nothing negative at all. He's got a lot of experience, and just stating the fact there that we've been hearing his speeches for all these years. So he's got a tremendous amount of experience, and, you know, I'm the new energy, the new face, the new ideas, and he's got the experience based on many, many years in the Senate, and voters are going to have a choice there in what it is that they want in these next 4 years.
It's worth noting that while elected in 1972, when he was elected that year, Joe Biden was more than 6 years younger than John McCain was at that point, and he still is. Margaret Carlson of Bloomberg News, Washington editor of The Week magazine, joins us now. Margaret, good evening.
Good evening, Keith.
To imply that your own opponent is too old and too experienced, while the other person on your own ticket is older and has been running on experience, how does anybody do that without passing out from the exhaustion of the required mental gymnastics?
Yeah. Well, it's hard enough for me to keep one thing in my mind straight, much less two conflicting things in my mind. And I don't think she'll be able to, you know, keep those straight for long. But she has a few words in her mind: experienced, young, inexperienced, young, and she wants to convey that about Obama and then the other about Biden, but it simply doesn't, it doesn't gain any traction. I'm sure now at this very moment by the creek in Sedona where she's practicing, they're saying, don't do that one again.
And you mentioned the creek. We were sort of haven't given that away, but that's in fact she is practicing. She's the one in the baseball cap on the right, practicing for these mock debates. A, outdoors. B, near a creek. One of the premises of psychology for tests is try if you can to study in the exam room, because when the actual test starts, you'll feel as comfortable as if it had already started. So they're prepping her near a creek.
Well, go figure. But part of the shtick coming out of the McCain campaign is that Sarah Palin hasn't been allowed to be Sarah Palin. And that's what's hampered her in these really tough interviews, which, by the way, there have been no tough interviews.
Yeah.
So they're letting her be her by being outside and not cramping her in some room like a United States senator might be in.
Well, okay, I just don't know how that's going to be translated into the actual event unless Senator Biden is inside the arena and at Washington University and Governor Palin is like out on the street or something.
You'll hear gurgling water in the background.
Well, you know, like maybe one of those white noise machines that has the various different settings. The interviews have been dismissed. There was a right-wing radio interview with the governor today, and they dismissed these as pop quizzes that were designed to trip her up. Is it possible that we're misperceiving something here? Is this seen somehow as an asset to her candidacy and not a detraction? I mean, her first answer in this radio interview, she twice referred to herself as Joe Sixpack. Is that really the pitch here, that everybody who is not personally qualified to be vice president will say, I like her because she isn't qualified either and it's time one of us got that job?
Well, that's the reasoning that's going on out there. I went to an event with Sarah Palin was in and asked people in the crowd, and they all made a point of how much she was like them. Now, I don't want anybody like me anywhere near the White House, so it's not a qualification I would support. But, you know, you never lose by running against the media. That's a quick hit. You get something for that. But anybody who watches the Katie Couric interview, Couric was more like a therapist than a journalist. I expect her to say, our hour is up now. Hold that thought. And, by the way, the luck of the draw is she has Gwen Ifill as the moderator on Thursday. So she's got a woman. It's much harder to accuse somebody of Gwen Ifill's personality of being gotcha. And the questions are not of the sort. I mean, they are questions that come out of the news and out of what you'd expect anybody to know, like the Supreme Court. Now, Joe Biden would know more. He's chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee. However, there's a historical list that would come to mind, like Marbury versus Madison or Dred Scott or you know, something that we learned in school that isn't gotcha at all. It's just our common understanding of our history.
That Dred Scott, Margaret Carlson of Bloomberg News, like the rest of us, on pins and needles about Thursday night. Thank you again, Margaret.
Thanks, Keith.